Well, we got the 2022 Maverick Hybrid here. And as you can see, there's a lot of shields underneath, just like the 2-liter version. 15 screws to take that plate off to do an oil change. And on the right side of the vehicle there, you see that long plate. That's where the battery is. So let's have a look without the shields. You can see the eCVT transmission. It's both a generator and a motor in there. When you accelerate, it acts like a motor. When you decelerate, it acts like a generator. Puts energy back into the battery. See the oil filter up there? There's an electric cooling pump. Typical brakes, same thing pretty much everywhere. But this is a front-wheel drive. It's not a four-wheel drive, so you can see how open it is in there without the PTU in there, like the 2-liter and the 4x4. Lots of room. Here we have the battery, and the battery electronic control module is on top of it. So those orange connectors, those are high voltage ports. You can see all that grilling section. That's a cooling section. And on the back side of it, you can see there's 2 pipes going in. Those are the coolant pipes to keep the battery cool. Now, one thing in the exhaust here, these Atkinson engines don't produce a lot of heat. They're very efficient. And so what they did is they built in a heat exchanger in the exhaust to try to drive the coolant temperature up really quickly using the exhaust heat. So that's something a bit unique. They've used it on other vehicles too, but obviously they need it. That'll be used for emission controls because you need the engine at operating temperature, and it'll also help to give you some heat too. Big muffler. And on the back end here, they have a curved monobeam suspension. It's coil. It's not independent. You can see the brakes, the rear brakes there. There's the electric parking brake actuator on there. This bracket I'm not too sure about. I think it's just there for a tie down for shipping. I'll have to check into that a little more. And a small resonator in the back. They only have a 4-pin trailer plug because they derate the towing capacity on the Hybrid. And this is another weird thing I've noticed, that they had this bracket that's welded to the body right behind the spare tire, and it's like, I'm thinking that it's there for if you're in a collision, it blows the tire out so the back of the vehicle crumples up if you're rear-ended or something like that. The tire obstructs the crumpling process. I'm not too sure about it. Now, while we're talking about high voltage, this thing puts out 450 volts, and it's pretty dangerous. And this is a special tool that Ford sent us. It looks like an old vaudeville stick for bad acts, but it's an insulated pole for the guy to drag you off. It's non-conductive. We call it the open or closed casket pole, because no matter what, you're going to be dead. It's just a matter of how fast the guy can drag you off as to whether they can have the open or closed casket. So, like I said, I wouldn't be messing with the orange wires too much. The oil pan's pretty straightforward. Drain plug. Lots of connectors up the side of it. Everything seems to be shielded fairly nicely. Now here's a look at the top end here. This guy down in the right side of the screen there, that's a DC to DC converter. It converts the 450 volts DC from the big battery to 12 volts for running accessories, lights, heater, fans, stuff like that. That's the top side of the ECV transmission. Like I said, you don't want to mess with the orange stuff. That's if you have to do anything. You see by the fuse box there's that green plug. If you go through the procedure to disconnect it, that opens a set of contacts in the high voltage battery and cuts off the 450 volts to all the other components. And you see that, and there's another orange cable running around there. Runs down in. That's for the AC compressor. It's an electric compressor. And it's, I try to get a picture of it here, but it's buried down there so much that you can hardly see it. But it's it runs off of the 450 volts. You see the two coolant jugs there, or two coolant reservoirs. The front one is for the engine, the back one's for the motor electronics and the DC to DC converter. And that's about it. It's pretty well laid out. You know, the air filter and stuff still on the top. You don't see any 12 volt battery. That's under the back seat of in the cabin.